So this is currently a Scraper 2 PY. I'm just gonna walk you guys through the code in case we need to edit it tomorrow while live testing it, so at least someone can know what to edit or how to edit it if we have an error or things don't come up. So these are all the imports. Um, there are two URLs that I test for. There's a pre-URL and a live URL. The pre-URL has games that haven't happened yet but are in the near future, and the URL live is the live URL that has a JSON dictionary of all the live games on Bovada. And I initially start the code by putting two global variables. You actually don't need this one. Never mind. So one global variable, it's going to be the dictionary that holds all the initial team information, meaning the initial odds that every single team has. The reason I need to do this is because it's sort of hard to keep track of odds, teams, and like while you're scanning through every single event that's going on through the dictionary, you don't exactly know which team you're dealing with. So a dictionary would be a decent data structure to hold this stuff, so I can at least track things and always be able to check the uh, the initial odds, so I can at least see if there's a crossover. The structure of that dictionary is going to be like right here. Yeah, so it's going to be the event ID, and then it's going to lead to another dictionary with the away team, home team, each leading to initial odds of that team, a boolean that says initialized, and also I believe I also added a crossover element to each one of these things that's not shown right now, but I'll show you guys that later. So this is not exactly updated or accurate. So yeah, I don't think I also need these variables, but I could delete that later on. Don't really want to mess with the code right now, but yeah. So let's just get started. Um, so uh, so data is pretty much going to be fed in JSON file, I believe, something like that. Check if the data is if this empty, because if it's empty, then the function is just not going to run, and I'll skip all this code. Events equal event equal. So this is just dictionary parsing, stuff like that. Like I know I have to go through the dictionary and like figure out how it was structured, and I figure that this is how I can go through it. I may or may not have switched the away team and the home team names, like the local variable names, but I believe that the output is correct, but these names might not be correct. So if there's ever an issue later on, which there probably could be, because these names are not correct, then please check this one because the odds and initial odds might be swapped with the team names because I do use these variables again later on. And okay, so event ID is how we uniquely identify an event being a basketball game with two teams. So both teams have the same event ID, but no two basketball games have the same event ID. Current time, period number, score. I made a helper function just to help get this time score thing given an event ID. The reason I had to make a helper function was because there's another JSON dictionary file URL thing that I had to access that's not really important. This function works fine. Yeah, so stats. I don't think I use this anymore actually, so I might you can I'll probably just delete it and see, but I don't want to delete anything yet. Just leave it alone. When I clean up the file, I can delete it. Um, so yeah, CSV line is the main way. It's pretty much what I write with the code. So I already know a few things, right? I know the home team, I know the score, I know the current time, I know the period number because I've just extracted these, right? So as you can see from the cursor, that I already know certain things, and I've already built the CSV line that I'm gonna ask the function to write to a CSV file. All we need now is the odds of each team. So that's what the rest of the code is for. So I start a counter, print the event description. So that's the stuff you see when you see like Lakers at like Clippers or something that's printed in your shell when the scraper is running. Money line. So this is just more dictionary parsing, more dictionary parsing. Like I found what the prices are. So if the price is American, if the price and then the value in the dictionary is going to be American, then and it's even, then I change the current odds to 100. If not, then just make the current odds the integer version of the string that's given from the dictionary, which is just going to be like plus 300 as a string, but now you're making an integer, so it's going to become 300 as an int. Yeah, and then I append it to the proper CSV line list because remember CSV line has this structure. Stats was an old version of CSV line. I just didn't delete it. It's just a list with two lists. And the way I deal with home team versus away team and line by line is by using mod 2. So if mod 2 is 0, I put it in this list. If mod 2 is not 0, I put it in this list. Right? So the way that works is okay, CSV line is going to append the current odds to the mod 2 version of the counter. So it goes to the correct list, as you can see. And yeah, so now we're gonna start. Now we're gonna store the initial team information, meaning we're gonna we are going to make sure that what's it called? Give me a second. We're gonna make sure that wow. I mean, we're just gonna get the initial odds that each team has in the first line of the code. The reason, my bad, the reason I was like so slow for a second because I think I put crossover. I wanted it to make it. Hmm, I wanted to make crossover a part of like one of the values from of this key. Instead, I think it made it a value of the event ID, which might not be good because there can be two crossovers per event, and a true false would not represent that. So I'll probably change that in a second. So sorry about that. And then all right, so I'm just initializing uh, this the initial odds for each team, and I'll show you hopefully what it looks like. I think I still have it in my IPython. Actually, probably don't. It's fine. So yeah, like, I mean, if this switch is turned true, then like I know that the dictionary has originally been initialized, and then I add the second team later on. And once the second team is added, I switch it to true, and then this is never looked at again. So so as the game goes on and there are more and more events that come on, you don't have to look for these conditions anymore, and we just have our initial odds, and they won't be touched, and they'll be stored in the dictionary, initial team information, and then counter plus one. Comments. Okay, so now my away odds are always going to be the last element of each list in the CSV line, home and away. So as you can see, home is going to be the second element in the list. Everything home related is going to be second element. Everything away related is going to be the first element, I believe. So 0th and 1th element. Yeah, so I'm just printing stuff out to make sure it works, but can't really check that because there's no live games right now. Um, this is the current list of carriers' phone numbers that I want to test. You can add another tuple with your carrier and your phone number if you want to see if it sends you a text message, but I didn't want to bother everyone while I was debugging. Input ROI, I'm waiting to get these two things from Akash from his however he wants to send me those things. So these are just like standing here for now. Yeah, yeah, so now I'm gonna test. So remember how I wanted crossover to be a part of the dictionary for the home team and then also the away team. So I pretty much test that condition. So like if the crossover is met, so no, if the crossover has not been met, it'll go through this code, right? So if not crossover, so crossover is supposed to be true or false value, so it'll go through the code if the crossover has not been met. It calls the get crossover function that James made for me, where you put the initial team odds, the current odds from the away team, the initial bet size, and the input ROI, right? And then I made it give back 5 outputs, so 5 returns: a boolean, an initial odds, initial bet, current odds, bet amount. This might not be the most efficient thing, but it was easy to code and it's kind of easy to read and see, at least while you're like going through the code. So then I test the boolean. What the boolean is, it pretty much tells you if the crossover ROI threshold has been met. So if the crossover ROI threshold has been met, switch the crossover boolean to true and make the message. I made a make message function. You can like scroll down and see it later on, and then send all. So the way I send a text is text.send all message, which is a string. So send all this string, and then numbers test, which is this dummy list right here. But eventually, hopefully, Akash sends me a better or more robust list. Um, yeah, so that was when we tested if there's a crossover betting from the home team initially. Now we're going to test if there's a crossover betting from the away team initially. And as you can see, the code is practically the same. I was thinking about making a function just to like input all of this and just have it not be repeated. So we can just call the function twice with different inputs, because all that pretty much happens that we switch the away team and the home team and this, as you see. So switch that. Everything else is the same except when you call get crossover. See, uh, your initial odds are going to be for the away team, over here for the home team. The current odds are going to be home odds. The current odds over here is going to be away odds. Same initial bet ROI still. And then, yeah, so we just put away team here. Same thing that happened before, except we're doing everything from the opposite perspective. So, yeah, probably going to make a function where we just take the input as away team or home team and then just spit out this code. Yeah. So that's done, and hopefully the text message is sent to the correct numbers. I'm like, yo, that's pretty much what we're testing for. And then after that's done, I write a CSV file using the first line first. So remember how CSV line, the first list in that is going to be the away team. Second list is going to be the home team, and it just writes it line by line every single time. This is just another test I did, but I figured it could be useful to see the dictionaries working, the initialized team information dictionary, and then I return the CSV line. Um, I'm not sure why I even returned a CSV line, to be honest. Seems like we don't even need to do that because we're writing the CSV line. Doesn't matter, I guess. So these are some helper functions. Make a message. You don't really have to worry about this one. It's just a message I made using like the expressions we need. Get crossover. James made this. So like initial odds. Remember how I use it over here, right? And I use it twice, right? So just switching the input order, knowing that when you're testing both sides of the game, the initial odds and the odds check are always going to be flipped, as you guys should know. Initial bet should and ROI should be constant at something that we choose. Yeah, and then this returns a tuple of 5 elements, a 5 tuple. Yeah, and you guys can like pretty much figure that part out. Get initial odds. I don't think I use this. Probably gonna delete it. Get time score. You guys don't need to worry about this. More dictionary parsing stuff. Given an event ID, it just gives us like time in the game. Write CSV file. So if anyone is ever gonna write a CSV file for whatever reason, Akash, maybe you are, just make sure you do like this A over here, just append stuff. Could be useful for you because it just I don't know. It's probably a faster way to like make sure nothing gets overwritten or like deleted. It just appends to the bottom of the file. And get pre-games, ESPN. This is the pre-games function that gives you all the games for today. Another scraper, completely unrelated to like what I was just talking about before. And then the run function, yeah, it should be fine. Oh, I should change this to 60 or something. My bad, yeah. Yeah, so this should be fine. So like in the run function is where I call the get stats function right here, right? So like get stats calls data. We really don't even know what data is because I haven't made my doc strings yet. But data is so when run calls, so while true is going to try to request from the URL live. If there's a problem with the URL or like if the length of the data is 0, then we return, then we break. I don't know why we actually need a break because I'm sure it's just going to return it. Not going to worry about that. So I'll just actually, I'm just going to leave it. Um, Whatever. I will not mess with anything because it's working right now. I'm not trying to debug stuff that I can't really test until a live game. Then I call get stats if it's longer than 0, meaning it's not an empty dictionary. And then I make a sleep and then keep trying, keep trying, keep trying while true, right? And then if there is ever an exception, print. I finally added this print exception thing, and well, we don't need this part because print exception. It's gonna sleep for 60 seconds and hopefully try again, because probably and try again is I just call run again recursively, so we'll just keep doing this over and over again until like some return statement is hit or a break. And yeah, so make a sleep for 60 seconds in case the URL request or the website understands that we're requesting it too much. So yeah, everything else here is just old code that I don't think we should use anymore, so I just like left it there. Let me know if you have any questions. Remember, I wanted to remind you guys again that like a big issue that you might have if there is a problem debugging stuff, probably going to be this away team, home team thing.